Hey, good morning, good evening, good afternoon, whenever you're listening. This is Profoundish. Thanks for hanging out with us. My name is Alex, and today on the show, Weston's going to be talking about his recent trip to Texas. And after he shares some fun stories about his trip, we naturally gravitate towards a conversation about video games, and I get a little bit into my most recent video game soundtrack project, which is pretty cool. All in all, it's just a super laid-back, chill episode. This is Profoundish. I don't know about you, but about the facial hair, I have a couple gray. I don't know if you have any of that showing yet, but I got a couple right here. Can't come up on screen.
Do you not see the top
but
of my head? How much am I? It's all going gray. God dang.
Is it really gray in your hair?
Well, it's just so light. Like, it's not gray, like it's like silver or anything. It's just my hair is all on the top of my head. It's already so light. My beard, you can kind of make it out under my lip, is definitely lighter than the rest of my chin or cheeks. So you can kind of make out. I have lighter pieces. I don't know if they're really gray or if that's just, I mean, look at my eyebrows. Like my hair just does that. It's just kind of like,
right.
Like it's like darker and then it just fades.
Yeah, I can barely see. Like I've known you for years. I've never seen your eyebrows, Weston. Like I've never seen them.
That was so light. I made a YouTube short or a TikTok about that once, and I don't remember how it went exactly, but it was like a chat. Someone in the chat was like, "Oh, you have nice eyebrows." I'm like, "No, I don't. You liar! You can't see them.
Yeah, I don't even have eyebrows.
What are you talking about? What eyebrows? Where are they at?"
That's we're two sides of the spectrum because I have giant eyebrows. I always call them the ferrets above my eyes. There's just two ferrets that sit on my forehead. It's funny because on camera it doesn't do it justice. I don't know if it just kind of flushes me out, but I mean, they're every Duquette has these distinguished, distinct,
prominent.
Prominent. That's a better word. Prominent. That's like arched eyebrows, and they're like, I don't know, they're just super thick and stuff. But so you can see them a mile away, and they're a different color than the rest of my hair too. They're actually more brown, and my beard is red, and my hair is red. It's weird. It's weird how face hair works.
It is. Well, you're in luck because unless it's changed, and I'm that far out of the loop, thick eyebrows are in. They are more fashionable than thin. Or at least that's the case on women. I don't know that guy eyebrows is ever a fashion thing, but
right.
Supposedly, the thicker eyebrow is in fact.
I am in. That's perfect.
I know. And I am out.
See ya. One of my sisters, I remember when thin eyebrows were in, for the ladies. This is many years ago now, I remember, but it was like really, really, really in. She was like 18 at the time, I think, or something. She did everything she could to get rid of her eyebrows, and is when the girls were like drawing them on and all this stuff. Yeah. She did all that. And she's since realized it's like, no, I kind of like my eyebrows. They're a part of me. They're a part of my who I am, But at the time, it's crazy what eyebrows can change for how you look, because she looked very different at that time. And I'm thinking, I remember I haven't seen her in in a few months, and I was like, what's different? Something's different. I couldn't even tell. And then she's like, it's probably the eyebrows. Then I realized it's weird. Eyebrows are one of those things. It's kind of like how you can just tell somebody from who they are just from like their eyes and their nose alone. You don't even need to see their mouth. Or vice versa. Yeah,
I was gonna say, or the other way around for like just it's weird how many people you can recognize from like under the nose down.
Right.
But especially if, like you said, your family, if you have thicker eyebrows, if you go from like plucked and really thin eyebrows to suddenly big bushy eyebrows, like that's gonna make a difference. These are my natural eyebrows. If I started plucking them and I thinned those out, I don't think anyone would notice.
Right.
There's not a lot to take.
But if you colored them.
But yeah, if I started coloring them and coloring them in and making them thicker, that would definitely like, oh, well, as long as they're not covered by my glasses, because my eyebrows sit a little lower and I like the taller glasses. But anyway, so long as you could see them, people would be like, oh, wait.
Right.
Well, actually, this pair of glasses I'm wearing, because just talking about that, like my glasses that I'm wearing right now are not my usual everyday glasses. These are just my spare glasses, basically. They're the same prescription. I just have 2 pairs of glasses, and I wore these to work today. And a coworker was like, "Did you do something? A haircut? So what did you do? You've done something. You look different." And I'm like, well, "It's probably the glasses. You're used to seeing me in my thicker pair of glasses." And that was what it was. It was like, "Oh, that's right." They couldn't figure it out. They're like, "What did you do?" You did something.
Well, Weston, I'm going to say I noticed something else a little different.
Is it just a great shirt?
No, this is a great. No, that's not your shirt. No,
I'm on vacation.
You were, and that's what we're about to talk about.
I were,
Alex. I were. No, here's what I did notice, and it's a perfect segue into this. Your skin looks slightly darker. You must have gotten a little sun. Which I wouldn't be surprised if you got a little sun. You were closer to the sun.
Does it look... I can't... I need to do something with my lighting or my monitor or something. I don't think I look darker, so I don't know if
just
that's
a
the
little
trick
bit
of the camera. I'm fresh out of the shower like half an hour ago.
Maybe
I'm a little red. Do I look redder or darker?
You look... It's mainly in your head, which would also make sense unless you're wearing a hat. Because I know you spent some time outside. So...
Yeah. But it was mostly overcast. I did get to go outside a little. I touched more grass than I usually do.
I'm just saying I noticed it, and wouldn't it make sense that your skin would be a slightly different, slightly darker, even just a little bit, because you went on a trip, you were outside a little bit, all that stuff. It kind of makes sense. It's,
maybe
getting hotter outside, and
well, considering how much of a vampire I normally am, and I get no sunlight, so maybe I am like a shade, like a single shade darker.
No, that's what I mean, and I see you, and I've always seen you kind of in this box for a while, so I've kind of been used to kind of how your skin, because it happens to me too. Like I spend more time outside than you do, but it's usually either in the mornings, completely under trees, like walking or whatever, but like over the weekend, right? I was outside for just a couple hours with Steph, like during the day, and I got red. And I got a little color. So it doesn't take long, right? So for people like you and me. But anyway, that being said, your skin may or may not be a little darker. I think it is. Why is that, Weston?
I'm back from vacation. I was 10 days on vacation. I was down in Texas. Yeehaw. I didn't bring you back a cowboy hat, Alex. I know you wanted... I looked at them. There was a place... I did not. Don't get excited. I did not bring you back a cowboy hat. You wanted one. We did stop into a store walking around this little town. I forget what the name of the town was. I can't think of it now. It'll come to me. Anyway, there's a store that made like really nice cowboy hats, like 10-gallon hats or whatever. And they had some pricey hats in there. I saw they were for anywhere between like $100 to a couple $100 for a hat. I'm trying to remember what the most expensive one was that I saw or whatever. But whatever it was a few $100s, and I was like, that's expensive for a hat. I kind of want to buy it.
Right?
I want to buy one.
Have you seen what boots go for? Like nice boots. Sorry, I didn't mean to. I'm so sorry, Weston. They're just boots.
I took a breath in to speak at the same time I decided to swallow, and that did not work. That did not work.
It's like, listen, guys, don't talk to Weston about boots.
don't talk about boots. You'll get me all riled up. I knew boots could get expensive because there's a lot of different brands and styles that are just shoes, period, can get expensive. So like boots can get expensive. So that I kind of knew. Hats, I didn't really think about how expensive hats can get. I'm sure I've seen fairly pricey now. I just didn't really think about it,
Right. I didn't know much about the hats either. I just know with the boots, and I only really know this because of my stepdad, because he wears boots, like boots, and like I guess there's all kinds of different skins. Like you can do like alligator skin and eel skin and snake skin and like all kinds of different, and ostrich skin. There's like all kinds of different ones, and ostrich is like up there, but not the most, but it's up there. And he bought this pair of shoes, this boots. I can't remember. This was 15 years ago. For I don't know, it was like $800 or so. Like literally, it was hundreds upon hundreds of dollars. But he still wears them, and they are the most comfortable. I put my foot in his. This was not even that long ago, maybe a handful of years ago. I put my foot in one of his boots, and he's got these big ass feet. And I put it in there, and like it felt like I was stepping on a cloud, and I wouldn't expect a boot to feel that way. And he's had those boots for, like I said, 15 years or more. It's and he wears them often, so it's actually quite amazing. So I mean, you get what you pay for, I guess. But ostrich skin, who would have known? I don't know.
Ostrich. I would not have. I would not have thought about it. Was it like feathery? Not on the outside, surely.
No, it wasn't feathery at all. It looked like it had a unique look to it, but it looked like just a leather, like cowboy style boots. But
that is bizarre. I
I'll see if I can get a picture.
I did get to see a couple ostriches on vacation. An emu.
Oh,
an angry emu. We went to this Zoofari. It was like a little safari thing that opened up just last year. It was like it opened up in 2023.
okay.
And you like, drive your vehicle through the little zoo, and like animals will like be wandering around. And you can buy buckets to like feed and like feed the animals.
Mm-hmm.
You're not supposed to feed them out of your hand. I did not know that right away.
Okay.
Which, I mean, it probably makes sense. So this is something that we were all making fun of, but we were pulling up to the entrance of the Zoofari, and there's a giant sign that's like, read all the rules in your booklet before going, like, continuing or whatever. And they give you a booklet. And I don't know, we were in 2 cars. I was in the second car. So I don't know if this lady explained anything to the first car that she just didn't explain to the second car. Don't know. We get the booklet. I'm the booklet guy. I'm immediately handed the booklet. All right, Weston, read the rules.
Naturally.
Like, I look at the front of the book, and it's, the Zoofari. I'm like, okay. I open up the book. There's like a table of contents. I'm like, okay. I'm flipping through. There's information about the animals that are in the zoo, blah, blah, blah. I look all the way through. Not a rule in this booklet. So I close the booklet, set it down. I'm like, I don't know what they're talking about, but I'm not worried about it. So we get our bucket and we go or whatever, and we're having a good time and trying to figure out how to feed these animals or whatever. Because we're like, well, we don't want to hold the bucket out of the car, because then the first animal that comes up is going to try to eat the whole bucket, right? Yeah. So we got brave enough where, like, we're like, I'm feeding like emu out of my, well, it was mostly there were like llamas and like some kind of, I forget, some horned, they weren't goats, but some horned thing that I can't even think of what their name is off the top of my head. There were a bunch of different animals. Mm-hmm. And I'm just holding my hand out and feeding these animals. A little bit dangerous. You make sure you got your fingers back. Do not let them get to your fingers. You don't want them to bite your finger. The spooky one, though, was the emu. That's why I brought that up, because they have a beak. So I'm like, I've got this handful of feet. I'm like, do I want to do this? I hold my hand out. And this emu, he looks like a gnarly dude, but so gentle. Was so gentle with his pecs. He just wanted just the treat, not my hand, right? Like, he's just so careful. There was this big old cow thing that came up too that I fed, and I'm like, this thing could eat my whole hand if it wanted to. So I'm like, okay, this is something, and I held in all the animals are so gentle. Anyway, that's great. So the whole time, my mom's in the first car, and she's like texting back everybody in the second car, because they can see ahead that I'm feeding animals out the window. They're like, stop doing that, blah, blah, blah. And like, you don't feed the animals with your hands, blah, blah, blah. And I'm thinking, oh, well, they're just worried I'm going to get bit. But, I'm fine. It's fine.
Yeah.
Turns out the rules are on the back of the booklet. And no one looked at the back. It was on the back side. When I closed the booklet, I didn't close the back first. I just didn't even look at it. And like towards the top, in like all caps, do not feed the animals with your hands. Like, oh. Well, no one told me, and I didn't see this, and no one, like, I don't know. So we stopped doing that. We were like throwing food on the ground or whatever, or we'd like hold the bucket out. We played it correctly, but for the first good little jaunt of the Zoofari, I'm just feeding animals out of the window.
I mean, with my hands, you looked out. You came out of it with 2 hands. So I mean, I consider that a success if you ask me.
And it's not like I was a crazy person. Any of the animals that looked a little like suspicious or a little bit like a little nutty, like we didn't try to feed. Not with my hands anyway, because there were some bigger animals too, and there were some horned ones that we didn't want to get too close to the car, and like, they hit the car or whatever. And there's this big, it was like I forget what it was. It wasn't a Texas Longhorn, but it was one of the like species or subspecies. It was just a big bull. Its horns are like literally 10 feet from tip to tip, 10 feet wide.
Crazy.
Big bull.
Yeah.
Was like that was one that we didn't want to get close to the car, and he's like ambling and shambling up to the car, and he's like, okay, we need to move, and there's all these like freaking emus stuck in front of the car, like, move, we gotta move before this bull gets over here and rams us.
And he knows who he is.
He knows who he is. He wouldn't even need, that thing probably literally weighed a ton, if not more. It's like,
Wild.
if it got up to the car and just had like like an itch on the side of its shoulder just randomly, and it just turned its head just right, it would just destroy the car. So
that's wild. That's scary.
Yeah.
What about
it was a lot of fun though.
buffalo? Any buffalo? See any buffalo?
They did have bison. We saw them. Most of them were from a distance. They did have rhinos too. They were in their own pen. They were not allowed to get close to the to the cars. they were in their own thing, but they were there. Yeah. But yeah, we saw some bison. There were a couple of like different kinds. Like there was a water buffalo. I think we saw part of chilling out in a pond, and some regular buffalo, that kind of thing. Cool. So that was pretty cool. And then in a different area that wasn't part of the actual Zufari part, but it was like in their own pens, like by the gift shop and stuff. They had a pen for feeding giraffes and like a little budgie enclosure for birds. You could go in and feed birds and they would swarm you. That was a lot of fun. I got swarmed by a bunch of birds. And then they had a little petting zoo for like kids that had like goats and that kind of thing.
That's cool.
So
that's really cool. I've always wanted to do something like that. I don't think I've ever been to like a safari park thing. I know what you're talking about. We have one here in Tennessee, like close to me in Tennessee, but I haven't been there. I'd like to go. I was going to ask you a couple things, just a couple more general Texas things. Did you drive or did you fly?
We drove.
You drove. Okay.
It was a family trip, so we all drove. We drive most places we go to, unless we're literally going to like the coast. Like we've got family in Washington, so if we go to Washington State, we fly. But
yeah,
like
sure.
Most places in inland America or whatever, we just drive.
It's still kind of centralized. I mean, it's a drive, but obviously,
yeah.
How long was that for you?
Like 14, 16 hours, something like that.
Did you knock it out all at once, or did you stay at a hotel for half the time? And you know what I mean?
On the
next
way,
half.
On the way down, we stayed in Joplin, Missouri, and on the way up, we shot it in one shot.
Okay. Oh man, well yeah, because when you're getting back, you just want to get back. You just want to get home. Like we're just gonna take this. Yeah, sure.
You don't want to stop somewhere. And you're like, well, we're just heading home. At least on the way there, you're like, you're building that excitement. Like I'm going on vacation.
Right. There's the. No, I can't remember too. You might have told me and I've forgotten. Have you been to Texas before?
Yes, I do have family in Texas.
Okay.
I've only been there like one other time though, maybe two other times, and maybe I'm forgetting one because I got told off. My dad, who listens to the podcast, will hear this podcast, told me off like, yes, you have been to Ohio. We had an episode where I said I hadn't been to Ohio. He's like, you've been to Ohio? And I'm like, I don't remember. Where was I? And he's like, well, you've been to Kings Island, because that was like a band trip. I'm like, oh yeah, I knew Kings Island, but I was like, is that in Ohio? That didn't register as Ohio to me.
Let me tell you something.
No, go ahead. I was going to say there was like a kids museum we went to as kids. And I'm like, well, as a kid, I just knew it was the kids museum. Ohio.
Well, it's crazy what your memories can do and not do. Because don't feel bad, because my mom and stepdad have chewed me out a few times for saying the same kind of stuff. Like, you completely lied on X podcast. It's either 2Ps or this one. It's been on both, right? Because they listen to both. And it's like, I mean, that's how I remember it. Like, I remember one thing I said was, I was talking to Steph. This is on 2Ps, for example. And I remember we were talking about birthdays. And I said, I definitely did birthdays as a kid, but they weren't a huge deal. Like, I had some friends get together, that was it. Maybe one gift, that's it. Not a big deal. The contrast to Steph, which is she's, 29 years old, and she still treats every birthday like it's a really major thing. It's just it's what her family does, right? And so I said, well, it was different for me growing up. And then next time we went to go visit my parents after that, they pulled out this giant banner and some other birthday stuff from like my childhood. Said, we went all out on your birthdays. You're lying on the podcast saying that you barely had anything happen. They were huge for you too. So you just forget things, or you just, you know what I mean? You just don't remember.
It's weird what sticks with you. And then also like how it, like to you, you're like, oh, it was nothing special. As a kid, maybe you were excited about your birthdays and all the pomp and circumstance, but in your brain, it was probably like that was normal to you. So it wasn't a big deal because all you knew was that was normalcy to you. Yeah. Meanwhile, when Stephanie tells you regales to you these stories about her wild birthday parties, you're like, oh, in your brain, you're taking it to 11. whereas maybe her birthday
Yeah, you're
party
right.
isn't even really that crazy, but because both of your levels of what is crazy gives you like these different ideas of what actually happened. So it's
That's
really
totally
funny,
fair.
not just what you remember, but like how you remember it. It's really funny.
So speaking of your dad, so who was there like we're going back to him. We're going back to Texas. Who drove? What was the driving situation? I want to start from there, right?
My dad drove
the whole time.
the whole time. He does that.
Good for him.
He's the vacation driver.
That's usually what Kevin is for me too. He's always been the driver up until recently. He works hard and he's been getting tired. And I remember we drove in one day from the northern part of Illinois down to Tennessee, and that was about 9 hours. And now for him, that's nothing. He's driven the 14, and he used to be a truck driver, right? You got to learn how to drive a lot to be a truck driver. And but he's like, I said, anytime. For years, I said this too, any trip we would take, since I could drive, I said, if you want me to drive for a while, I was like, I got it. Don't worry about it, right? And then this last time, he was just kind of like, you know what? My back hurts and I'm tired. Why don't you drive, son? I said, I would love to. So I did drive for a few hours. But I was just curious. What do you do on a long car ride like that? Can you read? Like, can you read in the car? Or what do you do, I guess?
Yeah. Well, I used to always read a lot in the car. This trip, I mostly was like on social media and just doing stuff on my phone. Like just really just killing the time. I had my little tablet thing. And I had the mobile version. When I just didn't want to read, I just wanted to turn my brain off. I have the mobile version of XCOM, Enemy Within, the old one.
Nice. Yeah.
For anyone out there listening that is unfamiliar, that is familiar with this, yes, the old one. Does it run well on a tablet? It does not. It is buggy and terrible. Anyway, I was playing that a little bit, and then I was on my phone a bit. I thought I would get some work done. Like I had some typing I wanted to do and some other things I wanted to do, but just on a bumpy car, I didn't want to, and I don't want to deal with it. So I didn't really do any work like I thought I was going to. I really thinking about doing some typing, like just my own writing stuff that I'm working on. I'm like, oh, that would be a great time to work on that. I'm like, it's too cramped and I'm not in my writing space.
Same.
That makes a big difference now that I'm older. When I was younger, riding in the car or the bus or whatever, I could do homework, I could write, I could read books, I could do all kinds of stuff on the bus or car or whatever. Now it's like, no, I need my space. I need to be in the right space.
Yes. Yeah. I do that too. I always have that hope when I'm in a long trip and I'm not the one driving for the most part. I'll be prepared to I can do this, I can do that. And then, no, I get car sick, though, so I have that extra element, right? If I'm not in the front of the car, I can be in the passenger seat or driving, but if I'm in the back seat, I usually get car sick after a few hours. So that doesn't help either. But even it's those first couple hours, I'm like, I just don't feel like I'm in my element. Just kind of like you, right? It's like I'm not in my space, just like you said. But so since you drove then, I've been to Texas, I told you before, once, and it was to Galveston, which is unlike any other part of Texas. It's a beach town. It's like you're like in Florida, right? It's nothing like what I think when most people think of Texas, they don't think of Galveston. So, and we kind of drove through Louisiana and just kind of, because I came from Tennessee, so I drove differently than you would have. And we just kind of skimmed through like the bottom right side of Texas, kind of went through Houston, then we were in Galveston. So I think didn't really get to see much of it. What part were you in again? Because you were more inland, right? You were...
Yeah, the Dallas-Fort Worth area.
Okay, so that means you spent a good chunk of time driving through the state to get there.
Yeah.
I'm assuming. So my question is, when I go to a new state, I kind of always look out the windows and kind of see does it actually look or feel any different? It's like if you go to once you start getting into Florida, you start seeing the palm trees, even when they shouldn't be there. They'll start just planting them everywhere, right? Did it feel different when you started going through it, or did it just feel like more United States?
It really, because we were just on interstate and highway, right? So it really just kind of feels like more United States. You're not seeing anything really exotic. We didn't drive through a desert or anything. But I will say, there are small differences. It's just not anything oh, well, we're obviously in Texas now. It's just kind of the highway and the interstate, they're different. The roads are laid out different. Exits onto ramps and stuff are different. I don't know. If you're actually in Dallas, it's a bigger city, so you see some city stuff. But also, you like if you go to like Chicago or whatever, things are weird.
Cities
in different neighborhoods. Cities are just their own ecosystem anyway. So as far as like how everything looked, I'm not really thinking of anything that like screamed like this is absolutely Texas, unless you happen to be driving and you see, an armadillo on the side of the road. When you start seeing armadillos, then you're like, okay, well, this isn't Illinois, obviously.
Yeah.
So in that way, maybe the wildlife will get you, but nothing about the buildings in particular really hit me. And even some of the nature, some of the trees and stuff are just similar. Like the species of whatever we drove by might have been different of tree or something. Yeah. But for the most part, it's like, if you see an armadillo.
Yeah, that's weird. We get a little bit of those in Tennessee, and I remember probably not as much as Texas, but every once in a while I'll see like a dead armadillo at the side of the road. And I remember the first time I did, it was a couple years into living here, and I thought, it weirded me out. I didn't even recognize what I saw at the side of the road at first. Just because, once again, where we're from, you just don't see that. So, and then you see it, and it's like, what? And then I'm thinking, where's the tumbleweed? Is that next? Like, what's going on?
Yeah, I don't remember seeing any tumbleweeds on my way down to Texas or through Texas, so it must not be tumbleweed season. I don't know. You
probably came at a great time with weather, because I bet you it wasn't too hot. I bet you it was pretty warm, but
it was actually it was. It wasn't too sunny because we had a lot of we had some like overcast days, and we were like on the fringe of like there was rain, and then actually when we were leaving, it was storming, so it wasn't overly hot, and it was actually not too bad to be outside. Like it wasn't overly cold either. Like I got by with wearing jeans, but usually short sleeve shirts, which I'm a jeans person anyway, so I can wear jeans into warmer weather than some folks do. But so like that's kind of what my setup was. It was like jeans and short sleeve shirts.
Yeah, okay.
Kind of weather, and it was pretty nice on a chillier day. The only thing that made any of the days chilly was because of all the storm clouds trying to head that way. The breeze, the wind was cool, so like I would have a jacket for that. But it wasn't cold. It was just like, the if it weren't for the wind, it'd be great. But the wind is chilly.
Right. What of so you spent like 10 days there. That's a long time for a trip. So you went to so tell me about
realistically one, because we spent heading up there, we spent one day on the way there, because then we stayed in Joplin, and then we got to Texas. And then actually on the way back, I don't know if you really count that as staying in Texas. So it was more like 8 days.
Still a good chunk of time though to really kind of settle in for a couple days and have So what else did you do then? I bet it did fly by.
The one thing. We went down to see my grandma because she turned 90, and we made it a big family trip to go see my grandma. And so we took her out to eat. We actually brought her on that Zufari thing or whatever.
Awesome.
And then our plans kind of had to change because the plan to like hang out with grandma and do things or whatever. She got sick, and so she was like, the first day we were there and saw her, we knew something was up. She was just very tired. Not as excited as we were all anticipating her to be. It's because she was sick.
Yeah.
She caught bronchitis. We had her in the hospital pretty much the entire time we were down there.
Oh,
so we
my
had to
gosh.
keep visiting her in the hospital. Yeah, it was terrible. She was just having an awful time. She was happy to see all of us, but just the timing. We got all these family out there, and she fell sick. Last I knew, she was doing better. They had her on some medication and stuff, but the timing was terrible for her. Just feel bad for her. Yeah. But she got to see everybody. Had the surprise visit was my cousin just had her baby. So the baby's not quite 6 months yet, and grandma hadn't seen the baby yet. So they actually flew down to see grandma as a surprise. Like, she didn't expect them coming. And so grandma could hold the baby and whatever.
Yeah,
this is the great granddaughter. And unfortunately, because grandma was sick, she didn't really get to hold the baby, but she got to see the baby. So yeah, we made the most out of that. So we made sure to see her as often as we could, popping into the hospital every day. And then we just kind of found things around that to do. We just kind of like explored a couple small towns, went to a couple wineries, did a couple of outdoor things again. Like there was like an art walk and another little nature museum thing, and like a little railway museum type thing we went to, and just kind of like did that kind of stuff. Just found little things to do and ate at a bunch of places. Ate far too much food, but to me, that's what vacation is for.
That's a big part of vacation. So, like, what did you have any like? I mean, what's a Texas staple? Is that like barbecue? I guess I'm assuming they're big on barbecue.
Oh, Texas barbecue, of course.
Like,
yeah, we had Texas barbecue, and if you're doing fast food, in my brain, Whataburger is the go-to.
Whataburger, yeah.
So we did that.
What do you think about Whataburger? Have you had it before?
Oh, I've had it before. I love Whataburger.
Okay.
I recommend it. And which this time around, I actually didn't have any of their chicken sandwiches because the last time I had Whataburger, last time I was in Texas, I didn't have any of their burgers. But their chicken sandwiches were so good. The first time I went there, I was like, I don't feel like a burger, though. I feel like chicken. I had their chicken, and I loved it. So that was the only thing I ordered from Whataburger the first time I was down. So this time around, I was like, I got to order their burgers to know what Whataburger's burgers are like.
Well, of course, yeah.
I was very happy with Whataburger. I know people there's an internet debate about whether or not Whataburger is any good or not. I like it a lot. And the big debate is whether or not they're better than In-N-Out. And I've been doing In-N-Out now. There was an In-N-Out in Texas I went to.
Okay.
And I'd never been. I didn't know that their whole shtick is like they literally have one thing you can get. Like they have their burger and their fries. And like that's like super simple menu.
Hence In-N-Out, I guess. Makes sense.
It's in and out. And I was like, oh, they really mean it. And it was a good burger, but I don't know how it could possibly be better than Whataburger. They don't. In-N-Out doesn't even order chicken, man. Doesn't even have chicken.
And
I love
that. See, that can't get your stamp of approval. You got to have your chicken,
right? You got to have some kind of chicken sandwich.
Whataburgers or Whataburger. I always say I say it as Waterburger almost. I put an R in there. Whataburger. So I've had Whataburger. The first time I had it was in Texas on that trip, but now they're moving up. Like they're in Tennessee now, and I know they have plans to keep expanding. So we have one here in Memphis, and I've had it twice now. I don't really eat fast food much, but I have had it twice, both times with Steph. Steph fell in love with it. She's with you. She loves it, right? I am on the boat of, this is a good burger. I don't know why people say it's the best thing in the world. I don't know. I like how big they are. They're like big.
They're good size.
I think it could be just the experience. One of my two experiences, the burger wasn't super hot. It was like warm at best. Luckily, that was the second time. The first time that it was better. But
that would have been a bad first impression.
Yeah, but I mean, it was fine. I don't know. Maybe I should try it again to really know. But I've never had In-N-Out because I thought that was just West Coast.
Yeah, In-N-Out is mostly West Coast. I was surprised to see one in Texas, but obviously there's actually a lot of immigration from California to Texas, so maybe it makes sense.
That's fair.
But next time you're in Whataburger, maybe try their chicken sandwich instead, just to be weird, and let me know on the scale of chicken sandwiches where that sits, because there's the chicken sandwich game is very competitive, between like Popeyes and Chick-fil-A and KFC and all these places that do a chicken sandwich.
Have you ever had? And this is a shame because maybe you're not, but like I've always loved Arby's, and Arby's are a dime a dozen in Illinois. I've learned compared to like the South, because there's like 2 Arby's in all of Memphis, and Memphis is a big city. There's none of them, and there's not many in Nashville either. It's weird, but anyway, so it's more of a treat when I have Arby's, but I love their chicken sandwich. Have you ever had their chicken sandwich at Arby's?
No. Whenever I go to Arby's, the only thing I'm getting is the roast beef. So I've had nothing else.
Well, listen, that's kind of like Whataburger. Like, you got to have the burger, but they have a chicken sandwich. You have to have the chicken sandwich at Arby's, and you need to get back to me. I'll get the chicken sandwich at Whataburger, and you got to go to Arby's sometime and get the chicken sandwich.
It'll be a lot easier for me to get the chicken sandwich at Arby's. I could go to an Arby's. They're, like you said, they're common here.
Right. But I got it, luckily for me.
Whataburger.
I know, luckily for me, I mean, because I got one in town. So, like, I can go to...
Oh, you do have one?
Yeah,
oh, okay.
Yeah. They're starting to expand up, because all these places that were originally just a Texas thing or just a California thing, they're going everywhere now. They're just growing. So, but yeah, so I will try that, and you got to try that. We got to report back within the next, like, handful of weeks or something.
Next time on the podcast, we have to go out and buy it, meet, and eat it live.
That would be kind of fun, actually. A little, like food review together. That could be fun.
Welcome to Profoundish Food Review.
The thing about Profoundish is such a good name because we could just put it on anything. Like if we ever did a Let's Play channel, it'd be Profoundish Plays, right? It could just be
Profoundish Plays PP. That'd be really good.
I know.
The PP potential there is really good.
potential for PP. Okay, so I saw one picture of you on Instagram. I can't remember what it was now, but it was like you and you were just like hanging out. You were outside. Where was that at?
I haven't posted any other vacation photos. I just posted the one selfie because it was like, oh, I haven't had a selfie on my socials. And I just happened to be on Instagram. I was like, I should post a selfie. I mean, that was at the Herd Nature Museum.
Okay.
For what it's worth, the picture isn't like, it's just me in front of like, you can see some trees and stuff. So like you can't see anything special in that. But
I just saw what you tagged
that's
it. That's the only reason why I knew it was like on vacation because I thought, okay, I see his location or whatever.
Yeah, I tagged it just because I was like, well, I'm on vacation, so I'll tag. Because
here,
usually I don't tag my location on just on normal photos. I don't want people to know where the heck I am. That's just weird. But if you're on vacation and you're at a place, then it's like, oh, well, that's more normal. And then you also get like the Herd Nature Museum Instagram liked my photo since I tagged them. Don't get too excited. Cool. That's what they do.
You never know. Maybe the Herd Nature Museum has a video game they want you to play. They want you to stream it.
I doubt that.
I don't know. It could be a simulator, right? Like a nature, like a walking through nature simulator.
I'd do that.
That sounds fun.
I want to play. They probably have this. Firewatch. If you're familiar with that game in VR, would be dope. It's got to have it. It's got to have a VR, right? Because that would be really good.
That would be really cool. I never played that, but I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, I never played it either, but I watched a full Let's Play on it, which I go back and forth. It's like, this is one of those games where you can get most of the experience out of it by watching someone else do it. And so you feel kind of bad because you're like, these indie games that are trying to do something different, you want to support, but also I had no intention of actually buying it. So I'm like, am I taking business away by watching it all the way through, or am I not? It's one of those games that I've always gone back. As a Let's Player myself, there's conflicting gray areas and lines where it's like, yeah, I don't know, where there's something to be said about games that are like so linear and story driven that like, are you ruining it for other people if you play it? But not really, because if someone chooses to watch it, they're probably not going to buy it, or if they're going to buy it, they'll watch a little bit and then dip and then buy it. You know
exactly.
what I mean?
Yeah, that's kind of how I see it, and that's how I do it. I'll just tune in. Like if a new game comes out, everyone's going to be streaming it for at least a couple weeks. So then I thought, okay, it gives me an opportunity to watch one of my favorite streamers play it or whatever, and then at least for a little bit just to see. And then if I'm not gonna play it, I'll keep watching. Like, okay, I'll watch it because it's just popcorn fuel now. Or if it's something I really do want, then I'll just I'll turn it off so to save the spoilers, because I'm pretty big on not spoiling things, especially for games I'm really looking forward to. I'll not watch anything. I won't watch trailers or anything. Like if I know it's gonna be a day one for me, I won't even watch trailers most of the time. I'll just go in blind. Because
I hate how much of like a fake gamer I've become, because I don't know the last time I was like extremely excited for the release of a game. Like I buy games, I play games, but when I'm on Twitter and you got people like nerding out like, oh my God, this game comes out in a month, I'm so excited. And I'm like, I don't feel that for anything anymore. And I feel like I've died inside.
No, listen, I used to be way more excited about way more games. I think part of that comes with time and age, and like you've seen it all for the most part. And then there's always those new experiences sometimes that completely change it again for you, which is always great. Those are some of the best games. And like for me, honestly, now probably the only game that would really do it for me, and you know exactly what I'm going to say, it's probably Zelda, but those only come out every like 8 years, right? Like,
right.
You know what I mean? So it's like, okay, so of course it's exciting. It's just like people who are like, you know, like the next Elder Scrolls or the next GTA, the games that take 8 years or longer to make, these big games, you know, that always builds more excitement, partially just because you have to wait so long, you know? Like, but I do remember, though, like, being younger and, like, just buying the new console, like, whatever the console was, and almost any game was a huge deal when you got it. It doesn't matter if it was a good game or a bad game. It just felt like, oh, this is a big thing. Now, maybe it's because we didn't pay for them, right? Like, my parents got them for me. You know, I, like, begged them to get it, and then they'd get it or whatever. So like, I don't know if that plays a part because you're not spent. It's more of like you're working to get it and you finally get it. Now it's in your hands, or I don't know.
I also think just becoming an adult, you just have so much you do. Like when you're a kid, you go to school, you come home, maybe you do some homework, and then you like play games all night or whatever. And you're an adult, you got to work all day, come home, do house stuff. And then maybe you have time for a video game. So I feel like
that's true.
The amount of time you have to devote yourself to really getting invested in a game is much smaller, which is, whatever. But I wonder if that's part of why I don't get super excited for a game anymore, because I'm not involved in any like major franchises where I'm waiting for the next one. Like Elder Scrolls is an example. Like I played the absolute crap out of Skyrim, and like Elder Scrolls 6, whenever it rolls around, maybe never, will be one that I'm like excited for, but also I'm an adult now, and now I know about publishers and developers and studios and all the shenanigans that happens in the background. And I've already been burnt on Battlefront, which was deeply upsetting. But now I know all that, and I have to temper my excitement. Like, well, they could screw it up. They could just make a terrible game. Whereas as a kid, you're like, oh, the next one's going to be great no matter what. Like, it has to be great. Now, as an adult, I'm like, they could screw this up.
And it sounds like in general, because that could happen with any company, but it sounds like in general, you don't have like your Zelda. Like the game, because when I think of you and I think of like your all-time favorites, I mean, I always go to, you've always loved Civ. You've always loved Civilization. But, like, that's not the same kind of game, right? That's kind of a reiteration of the same thing, but with expanded elements. And I mean, I don't know. I played a little bit of 4 and 5.
It's not like story or narrative driven. It's a strategy game.
Right.
And even Civ, like, that's a good example. Like, I was really excited for Civ 6, but it just feels so fundamentally different from Civ 5. I mean, they're both the same genre of game. It was so different from 5 that actually, weirdly enough, my, like, passion for the Civ kind of, like, diminished a little bit. Not that 6 was bad at all. It was just different from 5. And my favorite is still 5, as opposed to the newest one, which is 6. So it's one of those weird things where it's like, well, that means I have diminishing returns for my excitement for like a Civ 7, for example. I'd be curious. I'd be interested in seeing it. I think one franchise for me is probably XCOM. If they ever drop XCOM 3, I'll be very excited for that one. But
I guess that does happen too, because I think of like other franchises, like, I mean, most franchises have their ups and downs, and Zelda has some downs, and but some franchises have a lot of downs, and like I think about like totally different kind of game, but still more, it's old school, because almost as old as Zelda, which is like, I think of like Sonic. Like, I'm not a Sonic fan, right?
Sonic.
But like, talk about ups and downs, right? I don't know anything about Sonic, but I know Sonic is known for its peaks and valleys. And like, imagine like being like a hardcore fan for something like Sonic. There's other examples. That's just one I think of because, I don't know, I just think of that one. But it's like, even if you're a diehard, you would start to have the mentality that you have of like, yeah, I'm going to buy it because I love Sonic, but I guess we'll see. I'm sure there's a lot of the population that's like that. Yeah. See, I couldn't do that. Like, luckily, Zelda's track record is really good. So, like, usually I know I'm in for at least a really good experience. May not be my favorite game ever, but it'll be a good experience. But I get it, though. Like, especially, you talk about Battlefront. I barely touch Battlefront, not my kind of game, but I know what you're talking about, and I know how much of a sour taste it left in so many people's mouths, just with how they make a lot of these big games now. And that's the thing. Yeah. Usually, the smaller games now are the experiences that are the unique ones and the fun ones that we all like now. Like, I've noticed that. It's really the rise of the smaller developers now.
Yeah, even if it's not super indie, like 1 or 5 people working on it, even the mid-tier, like, everyone talks about AAA games. If you're a AA or single A game where it's like clearly there's a good budget in here, but it's not a full-priced release, some of those, like your $40 and $50 games, right? Some of those are doing really interesting things and really fun things. The big AAA stuff doesn't excite me like it used to because it's so easy to get wrong, and then all kinds of behind-the-scenes shenanigans or loot boxes and God knows what else. They're trying to turn these games into things like services.
Well, also AAA games as experiences also have started taking less risks and really just started getting very formulaic, just kind of on a broader perspective, just from what I've played of anything in the last 5, 6, 7, 8 years or whatever. And I think the video game industry has been big really since we were playing them, but it's obviously continued to grow, and in the last decade it's like one of the biggest industries in the world, right, period. And you can kind of see that, because obviously as time goes on, the more they're having to answer to investors and all that crap. And I know there's more to it. It's all about bottom dollar, bottom line, making money, as any business should. I get it. But that is starting to reflect so much more now in games than it did even for EA 10 years ago, 12 years ago, even the big ones then, And so, of course, you're going to do less interesting or fun, unique things. I'm going to do things that make you spend a little more money and keep you playing the game longer. And
they're safe. They're trying to be safe.
They're trying to be safe. And that's exactly what happens. And so it's nice to see, you're right, even the mid-tier developers, right, who may not have to answer to investors or whatever. That's just one example. But just the smaller teams that really make some good things. And especially when you talk about single life, that you can tell the passions there. Like, they really want to make a game. Like, they want to make this thing, right? They grew up playing the games that EA used to make that was awesome or whatever, or other developers. There's plenty. We're kind of harping on them, but they, whatever.
Just weird. Sometimes, these games have to take the risk. They have to let the emu eat out of their hand, right? Sometimes you just got to break a rule or two.
Right. Sometimes you got to break a rule or two, because that's what pays off. Or sometimes doesn't. It's the risk. That's the point. Weston, we need to get into developing. I mean, I know you've got a little experience. You've started to work on some stuff before. We should get back into it.
A long time ago. I don't think I've retained any of it. I was watching a Godot or Godot. I think it's Godot tutorial. I was like, do I feel like doing a little indie game? And I'm like, no, there's no way I have time. I do not have time.
Well, if you ever do, you got your sound design and composer right here. Just on speed dial.
I'll let you know. I have to look again. I think one of the RPG makers, which would be a lot easier to just like, if I had a story I wanted to tell, throw together like an RPG maker game. I think one of them was on sale. The newest one was on sale. I was going to look at it.
Okay, that'd be fun.
I probably missed the sale already. I always do that. I'll get like a notification from like Steam or something, like, oh, this thing's on sale. This thing from your wish list. I'm like, cool, but I'm like at work or I'm out and about or whatever, and I swipe away the notification, forget about it. And it's what
we talked about.
It. Yeah,
you forget about it, right? You just forget.
Yeah, so I don't remember nothing.
Well, I will say, speaking of, I can say a little bit more about the project. When you were away, I finished my my latest video game composing project. And so I can say that a little bit more about it. I'm pretty excited. I don't know when it's coming out. I'm trying to have the developer reach back out to me and let me know when it comes out, because I want to help the guy promote it. But the game, there's a trailer for it up. It's actually been up for a few months, and the music in it is stock. It's not anything I made, because it came out before I started working on the project. But it's called Bobo's Fun Zone. It's like
Bobo's Fun Zone.
It's your kind of run
on Steam.
It's on Steam. It's kind of your run of the mill like mascot horror game, right? Kind of like mascot thing, and then it's like puzzle horror.
Okay.
And so when that comes out, that'll be completely scored to me, or scored from me.
Step into the haunting realm of Bobo's Fun Zone. In this horror/puzzle adventure, your mission: find your daughter who was attending a birthday party here. Navigate the eerie corridors, unearth what happened, and be careful and cautious as Bobo is about. That's the description for everybody. Does he need a narrator? I can narrate for him.
Well, he could probably use a Let's Player. I'm just saying.
I'll add it to my wish list. Because if you've done the soundtrack on it, I want to support it.
Well, I appreciate that. It's pretty exciting. This one, I worked on another project that never came out, so it's nice that this one's coming out. It's really cool.
Well, hopefully the project you worked on still will come out eventually.
Eventually. That's what we're hoping
I keep
for.
forgetting the name of it. It's like, oh, am I allowed to say? I forget. Is this one that is a secret, or have you mentioned it?
This one's not a secret. I can promote it. Ninja Akayo.
Akayo. I was gonna say it's like Accio Ninja, which
No.
I was kind of close, but I was like, well, Accio is like the Harry Potter spell.
It's
Akayo.
right. And that's on Steam too. It just doesn't have like a, just coming soon or whatever. And that trailer does have my music on it, but you can listen to that whole soundtrack on like my website. I put that all on there because I messaged him and I said, hey, I don't know when this game's coming out, if it's coming out, but I'm trying to kind of get this freelance composing work off the ground. Can I like share this, like on my portfolio? He said, oh, I don't care. Go ahead. It's like, okay, cool. So
Yeah.
this one was a little different and it kind of had to keep things under wraps a little bit longer just because of his issue. It's being published by somebody else. So there was just a little more involved, but that's why you can't hear any of the music for it or anything yet. But there's a trailer there and, yeah, so we'll see when that comes out. I'm going to find out. I'm assuming Halloween time if I were to guess, but I don't know. He hasn't gotten back to me yet.
Which is why I wish listed it, because come October, I will have forgotten all
Right.
about it.
Yeah,
I'll be
yeah.
like, oh yeah, that's right. This will work out. People like Five Nights at Freddy's. Maybe they'll be like, because I remember, and this game won't have nearly as big a reception as Five Nights at Five Nights at Freddy's is huge, so it's like
Which Five Nights at Freddy's, yeah.
But I remember my Security Breach stream did very well, and this kind of has Security Breach vibes. So we'll see what my audience.
That'd be
thinks
really
about it
cool,
come October time.
Or
Imagine it did get as big. Imagine if it did just randomly get like this was the next FNAF, just randomly.
If it did randomly get that big, I mean, that would be so incredible. My name's in the credits. Oh my God, yeah, that'd be amazing.
That would be dope.
The developer, I won't name his name just in case he doesn't want his name to be said, but I will say he was, when we were setting things up, he was kind of explaining, okay, obviously this goes to nobody, don't show anybody this, but he played through the game for me, so I could kind of, at least as it wasn't completed at the time, but he got, the scenery, a lot of the stuff was set up enough for me to get a vibe of how the music should sound, and like all the different events, I'll just put it that way, and so like watching through it, I was starting to write it and stuff. And then at the very end, I took all my notes down and then it took it back to the title screen. That's all I'll say. But there's like a title screen that plays where you pick the menu or you go to play or settings or whatever. And he sent me a video and he was like, I could use some title screen. You know what? No music. It's okay. It's okay. We can just have, we don't need anything there. And then he said, all right, thanks. Let me know if you have questions. But I thought, you know what? No. You need some title screen music. So I went the extra mile and I was like, listen, come on, So I sent that off to him and he's like, oh, actually sounds really good. Thank you. So it's like, yeah, of course, no problem. So I'm pretty excited. I wanted a theme in there too, because a lot of it, as you can imagine, it's horror. So a lot of it is ambient. There are some moments where scary things happen. That's all I'm going to say. You probably pick up what I'm putting down.
I should hope so.
Right, and it's a scary game.
Hope there are scary moments
where scary things happen, and I do write some really fun music to that, like horror, like thriller kind of music. Like that was fun. So like you're not going to hear any like melodic, sweeping. It's not that kind of game, but like it. I'm hoping that it does its job and it freaks everybody the crap out when they hear it. That's what I want it to do. Right, so. Super exciting. I will, who knows, maybe I'll play it. The problem is that I know where all the jump scares are. I know how to beat the game. I know all the puzzles, right? Like,
well, still, maybe because I don't know what state it physically looks like and what still needs done at this point, but maybe playing it through when it's actually polished and different.
That's true.
You've got the headphones on and you're by yourself instead of maybe with him on Zoom or something. Maybe that will still be a different experience. So
let me tell you though, that is, in my opinion, this is going to sound silly, but I mean it actually. This is what life is about. Because when I developed the game I did not develop the game, the music for Ninja Akayo, and that was my first video game gig, it was still to this day my favorite gig I've ever done, and set me off on a path to start focusing on freelance. And just because I loved every moment of it, because I'm watching a video game, and I'm the guy who has to put the sound and the music together. It's awesome. Yeah. Like, for me, it's my two favorite things put together. So, I don't know. I love it, and he's really cool too, like the developer, because this is not common. So I'm very blessed to have worked with him as my first kind of real partner, because he's very hands-off. So he's like, because I really kind of nailed it with that first game. And that's what he said. That's his words. He was like, I am so impressed with what you did. Make more songs just like that. Because
yeah.
So like what happened was he put like an ad out on Upwork, and then I responded to it, and he sent some screenshots. Said, I'm looking for someone to make music for this. And then I responded with one of the songs already done. Before I even messaged him, I said, here's what the theme song should sound like. And I sent it to him, and I was feeling a little ballsy, right? So I did it. I took all morning, right? It took me like 6 hours to make this song, right? It was like noon by the time I was done. And do you hear that? Okay,
Don't freak out, but yes.
I don't know why it's doing it. Okay. I think we're good.
Alex is turning into Static Alex. I saw that pause. He's like, oh, he heard it. He heard the
Static Alex. It's like whatever the bad version of Sonic is. Is that Shadow or
is there like a negative version of Shadow? Because it's not Shadow. Is just Shadow the Hedgehog. I don't know if there's like a dark Sonic or something.
Well, you know what I
like
mean.
that,
It's my dark. That's that's Static Alex. But anyway, so I sent him that, and he was like, "Oh my God, this is great." No, he needed like 10 songs. He said, I trust you. I need 10 other songs for these levels. That was it. So I saw all the environments. I saw what the gameplay was. I was like, okay. So it was really cool. So the hands-off was really nice, too, because I could really be in my own creative element. But I'm looking forward to future projects where it's like, listen, here's what we want. Because some people are going to be very direct with what they want. They know exactly what they're looking for. And I'm excited for that, too. So that's what life's about, Weston. That's what it's about. I love that stuff.
I mean, that's why I feel like this goes hand in hand with your VGM quest.
Yeah.
With analyzing other game soundtracks. Since you were trying to make game soundtracks yourself.
Yeah.
I mean, imagine doing a VGM quest on your own soundtrack.
That'd be cool. That'd be cool. It's like, Alex Duquette was born in 1994, grew up,
this is a story that this soundtrack was trying to tell.
But no, that is interesting. I actually had this idea for a while too, before VGM Quest. I wanted to like do like a podcast sort of thing where I like interviewed the game soundtrack composers. Because I feel like some of them would not be that difficult to get a hold of. Some would, the really big ones, but I bet you there are some who like did stuff for like mid-tier games that are still really popular that'd be like, yeah, I got an hour, because I see other podcasters do that stuff. They'll get like these developers or someone who's done some work on these really huge games, but they're not like in the limelight or anything like that. They're just a guy that worked on a really popular game. And I thought that'd be cool to like add that element to a VGM Quest too, just like actually have like a 10, 15 minute chat with them, like a little commentary or something. That would be really cool.
That would be fun. And like you said, I think a lot of these folks that are involved in these projects, I mean, all you have to do is ask. And if, like you said, if they've got an hour, they're like, okay, you know what I mean? So I think a lot of folks, don't even think that asking is possible, but you can just ask. The worst you can get is a no or no response, I guess. But like,
yeah. That's our Profoundish advice. Just ask.
Just ask. Maybe they'll say yes. Unless you're asking me for anything, in which case I don't read my emails, and then I miss out on all kinds. I miss out on all kinds of stuff. That's a me failing. That's not me turning anyone down. That's a me just not reading my emails.
Well, that's different. Well, I learned the last time with Weston because we were having like a technical issue, and I'm like, I was going to share him a link, and I said, "Can I just send it to you via email?" And he's like, "I mean, yeah." Like, sure. Like, that was your response. I guess.
I have to open my email.
Sorry. I get it, though.
I don't even remember I don't remember what the issue was. I think
Static
whatever
Alex.
it was is like, oh, was it the Static Alex? Okay.
Yeah.
Because I think I was just like, you sure you can't just send that over Discord or whatever it was I said.
And it was like, I think I did or whatever, but I was just like, I got to open up Discord. My CPU was through the roof right now, and I don't know why.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
It was a whole thing. Well, Weston, we're running out of time, but before we go, I do have I guess, like any other final Texas things? Any other things you'd like to, stories, anecdotes, things you want to share before we wrap up?
Oh, goodness. Oh, well, we did have, this isn't really, I don't know how widespread they are. Maybe it's Texas specific, but near the hotel we were staying at, there's this restaurant called Twin Peaks. That seemed like a little outdoor like bar and grill type situation. You know what that is? Okay.
It's like a
Well, we
Hooters.
thought it would be fun to head over there and like have a drink or something. We didn't know what to do. We were trying to kill some time. And brought my whole family into this Twin Peaks place that we thought we were going to just get some drinks and maybe order some snackies. And it's like, it's a Hooters, right? I know what a Hooters is, but it's one of those places where you go and all the women are like only half dressed, you know, cute girls or whatever. And that was pretty funny to walk it. Like that was a fun time. And it's not really very Texas-y as a story, but it was a story that happened in Texas. We were all went in making fun of these girls that were all, we were, it was so funny too. We were like, how old are these girls? Because they were all like 4'11". They were all like so goddamn short.
Sure.
They were like, they were like 12 and they went everywhere in pairs. So like, I don't know if that's a Twin Peaks thing. So it's like, two girls, they all go around in pairs. I have no idea, but it looked like they were all traveling around in pairs. So we had a good time making fun of just all of that because we didn't leave. We came in. Well, this is
that's what I was going to ask.
now.
Yeah.
So
that's probably going to be like a family memory you'll always have now, like the drop shock of just going in there, and then it's like, where are we right now? I'm sure you always remember that.
A little bit. That never dawned on me, the Twin Peaks, like what that might mean. Because their logo is like these two little mountains or whatever. I'm like,
mountains,
okay.
Yeah.
Like, it's just two mountains. Their thing is, I don't know, maybe, I don't know.
They like mountains.
Mountains. I'm like, maybe it's like an outdoorsy, sportsy barn grill thing, right? I'm not thinking about what Twin Peaks might mean outside of face value.
That's so good.
That was pretty funny. Walking in and like, oh.
I was like, oh, hello.
Hello.
Was the food
Here
good?
are we just had we didn't order like food. We ordered like little sampler snacky like fried pickles and I'm trying to remember what all we got. It was good, but it was like snacky stuff that like bar food that ought to be good. What the heck did we have? There was like chicken tenders. There was like chicken tenders, fried pickles, and like 3 other things that my brain has refused to remember. So they must not have been outstanding because I don't remember that.
Yeah, that's
but it
true.
was, it was snacky bar food. It wasn't like food.
Okay.
And I had a few beers, and we just kind of hung out.
I guess there's a final question I have just personally, because I like to do this when I visit different cities, specifically, not states necessarily, but did you have any like Texas brewed beer or drinks or anything like that?
Yeah, we
beer,
did go
really.
to, what was the name of the one brewery? We went to, did we go to 2 breweries? We went to, like I said, a couple wineries. We went to at least one brewery that had its own beer. And they were good.
Mm-hmm.
They had what sandwich did I have there? They had some kind of, I can't think of for the life of me the name of the brewery, but they did like Wagyu beef, like burgers and stuff like that. So they had a really good burger I had there with actually really crisp fries. So they had a really good burger and fry type situation, and they had their own beer, and I had some beer there. Oh yeah, there was a second brewery that had a giant menu on their back wall with all their different beers or whatever. It was more of a pizza place. I think they had burgers, but there was more of a pizza place. What was that one called? I can't remember the name of these breweries, but I went to 2.
Okay, cool.
So yeah.
Then he had some Texas beer.
I had some Texas beer and some Texas wine.
You take any?
I didn't have any other Texas liquor.
I'm not surprised you did wine because I know your parents for a while. They were on maybe they still are, like it's on a winery kick. They went to all kinds of, They got the time.
We all do wine. My brother is like the only one that's like not thrilled about wine. So
yeah, it'll come with age.
Wine's not my first go-to either. But like, yeah, if you go to like a winery or something, it's like, yeah, I want to try the wine.
Gotta have the wine.
I can't remember that there's this one winery we went to. I think it was outside. Was this when we were in Joplin, or was this on our first day in Texas? There's a winery we were looking for, found it. Turned out like we just drove by it and we're like, oh, this doesn't look like what we thought we were getting into. We just kept going and we found another winery close by that was a lot more like, oh, okay, this is a lot nicer. Yeah. And whatever that one was, they had some really nice wines on the sweet end. I ordered sweet wines and those were really good.
Okay. I don't know much about sweet wines. I usually kind of go for the dry stuff. But I don't know much about wine.
I'm still kind of a sweet guy. So. I'm still kind of a sweet guy for wine, but nothing like super desserty, like chocolate wine or whatever. Just sweet wine.
Right. Okay. All right. Cool. Well, sounds like overall good trip.
Overall,
sorry
good
about
trip.
sorry about grandma though. That's a shame.
I mean, everyone gets sick. It was just the timing. The timing sucks. I know she would have had a lot more fun if she didn't get sick. But, maybe there'll be another time where we can get a bunch of people out or whatever and see what we can do. But yeah, for the most part, besides that, it was a good time. It was good to just get away from just everything else for a while. So,
Oh, yeah. For everyone listening at home, I got that text from Weston. We were kind of like catching up for a minute just over text, and he was like, God, I don't ever want to come back. I just want to stay away. I don't want to go back.
I don't want to go back. I just want to stay.
And I'm like, I don't blame you. Yeah, I totally get it. Well, this was fun, man. I'm glad you had a good time. I'm a little disappointed about the cowboy hat. So maybe next time get me a cowboy hat.
To be fair, I didn't get me one either. So
okay, I feel better. That's okay. Because if you were like, sorry, Alex, that you tip your hat, it's like I'd be a little more bad.
I should have. We talked about it. I'm like, dude, that would be great if I showed up in a cowboy hat, unironically, without any context. Just from now on, every time I'm in camera, I'm wearing a cowboy hat.
I just love the funniest part of that joke to me, that bit, is like you going, what? I'm fine. I'm the same Weston I've always been. Like, you're just totally denying it, even though you're clearly different, but like you're just playing it off. Like, I've always been like this.
What's the big deal? What are you talking about?
Hey, Weston, where can people find you on the internet?
Well, if you're looking for me, I'm right here. I've got a website, westonhasty.com is my website, where you can find all of the things that I do. If you want to hang out with me and watch me play some video games, there's a YouTube channel called Magic Man Mo. That's me. I'm Mo. If you want to say hi to me on X, it's at Weston Hasty.
X.
And I have a little haiku book available if you're interested in reading some haiku by me called Smiling for the Sky. It's available on Amazon in both paperback and Kindle versions. It's free if you already have Kindle Unlimited. You can read it there. And that's me. Alex, where can we find you?
You can find me. My landing page is alexduquette.net. You can see most things I do there. You can hear my music there if you want to hear my original songs. I appreciate that. You can also see my medleys there. So I make medleys where I take a bunch of television show theme songs of all kinds, and I combine them together into short little mashup songs. It's really fun, so check that out. I also have, over on the YouTube side, I have something called VGM Quest. I'll plug that again since my Mario video recently came out. Go show that some love. I do a video covering the Super Mario 64 soundtrack. I do a deep dive song by song, cover each song. And I kind of theme it around how it represents the essence of childhood. It's really fun. Go check it out. Yeah, that's all. Profoundish, you can check us out anywhere you get your podcasts. You can find us on YouTube or on Spotify if you're doing video as well. So make sure you tune in there. Anywhere you can show support, please do that. Give it a like if you're on YouTube. Give it a star rating if you're on Spotify. Leave a review on Apple Podcasts. Can't emphasize enough how important that is for podcasts, especially Apple reviews. Those play a pretty big role. So do that. Show us some love. Also, there's always going to be a little poll or a quiz. Not a quiz. I don't know why I said quiz. A little poll or a question asked on our
It could
Spotify.
Be a quiz. We could actually ask that we could do like you could be wrong. Like we could be like, here's a question, 4 responses, you might be wrong. We could do a quiz.
That could be fun. Well, anyway, that's on Spotify, so keep an eye out for that. Show us some love there. Social media as well. We're on X at Profoundish Pod. TikTok, same thing. Instagram, same thing. We don't have a Facebook, so don't try.
Not yet, anyway. One of these days, we might buckle down.
We might buckle down.
We might also buckle up.
All right, buckle up.
Buckle up, kids.
Safety first.
Stay safe.
We have the same thought. But that's all for now. We're going to go buckle up. Weston's going to go decompress because I know he just got back recently. And until next time.